Sorry for the delay, everybody, but it'll be well worth the wait, I can assure you. So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you to the first Ireland-Israel Alliance speaker event. Yeah, please. I'm also delighted that this is actually a fundraiser for Magen David Adom. I'm sure most of you will know who Magen David Adom are, MDA, Israel's emergency services. They provide ambulance services and also blood services, and they are also they cooperate with the International Red Cross and the Red Crescent, and they're involved in many activities involving humanitarian aid across the globe. At the moment, they are building an underground blood bank between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. It's 2 stories underground, and it is completely disaster-proof, earthquake-proof, and any otherwise terrorist attack or bomb. So we are asking you, we did ask you to give a €20 donation, and I know many of you have, so thank you very much for that. And let's get on to the event of the evening. Journalist Kevin Myers is interviewing Mosab, and for about 40 minutes or so, and then after the interview there will be a 15 to 20 minute question and answer time. Okay, so I will hand you over to Kevin, and he will introduce Mosab and interview him. So please give a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackie. Welcome, everybody. If you have a mobile phone, don't forget to turn it back on at the end of this meeting, just in case you miss an important message.
Yes.
I begin with a rather distressingly solemn note, and do so reluctantly. A moment of enormous gravity occurred in the life of Mosab, our guest, in May of this year. For those of us who have experienced this gravity, nothing quite compares with it, and it was his 40th birthday. You are looking You're looking remarkably well. It has to be said, I think this is true, that not everyone wanted you to reach your 40th birthday. Is that correct?
Why not?
Because I can't think of any reason, because you're a great man, which is why so many people are here, not here just in this hotel, but watching you live streaming around the world. We all know what great work you've done, or many of us know what great work you've done for Israel. But in the execution of that great work, you must have acquired some enemies.
Is that a question?
That was a question mark at the end.
Well, first of all, good evening to everyone. Good evening. I hear some echo.
Yeah.
I feel that this is spread in my face.
Mr. DJ.
Enemies, friends, what is a friend today, it could be enemy tomorrow. They're just definitions of humans and human mind. It's better to be neutral. Nobody's enemy and nobody's friend. Did that answer your question?
Well, it's a point of view which no one here would dispute in the larger sense, but the fact is that in this real world, we do have enemies. Those of us who support Israel have enemies. Those of us who opposed boycott, etc., and sanctions, disinvestment sanctions, we have enemies. You know what I'm talking about. So, although it is right what you're saying, in any moral sense, that we should be getting on with one another, the truth is that people are refusing to get on with the state of Israel and the people of Israel.
It's not in black and white. you know, many people are simply ignorant, and they don't know the reality on the ground. So they may just project hatred towards Israel. If it wasn't Israel, they would project hatred against anybody. They would create an imaginary enemy, you know, to project their hatred on. Unfortunately, Israel has been accused with many things, and we need to just communicate with people, educate them, and tell them the reality on the ground. You know, I grew up as a child and I hated Israel, and I had no idea what Israel is. My father hates Israel. Does he know what Israel stands for? Does he know the contribution of the Jewish people towards the world? Does he know any Jewish people? He doesn't. He does not have direct encounter. And he sees in Israel as an enemy. I saw Israel as an enemy at some point. And now Israel to me is just another country, another people, another democratic system. So what all we need to do is just help elevate human consciousness from delusion to truth, from fiction to reality. You know, so we need to do it with compassion, with grace. If we want to see it only in black and white, you know, of course there are so many enemies out there. How can we make them into friends if possible?
Yeah, we in Ireland have this problem in a very acute sense. I don't know how much you know about the level of hostility towards Israel and the support for boycott and disinvestment and so on. And we have difficulty explaining the position, our support for Israel, to Irish people. So you have a much larger problem dealing with an Arab world which is so hostile to Israel and to the notion of a Jewish state.
Well, maybe you can help me understand why. You know, I'm not an expert on this topic, and every time I come through the border and I just say Israel, like today I tell the officer we're here to help raise funds for the Israeli ambulance service, and this is when the investigation started. You know, I tell him I'm an American citizen and I thought I have the right, you know, to stay here up to 90 days if I want. And he said, but now I need you to explain why you're here. And I told him it could be as easy as I'm here just for a couple of beers. And that's it. I said, but this is not the reason why you're coming here. And it was an investigation, you know, just because Israel came to the picture. And my friend said, maybe you should have told them, you know, that you're Hamas member. You know, then it would be much easier to get in.
This is in Dublin Airport or in London?
Just right
Just
here,
now?
Just right here at the airport.
You were stopped and questioned about why you want to come in?
Yeah, for at least, like, what was it, like 5 to 10 minutes maybe? Unnecessary interrogation, you know, for an American citizen, you know.
That is quite shocking.
Shocking.
That's absolutely shocking. I'm amazed. I mean, I knew things that culturally, politically were bad. I didn't realise that the bureaucracy was now enforcing this kind of discrimination. Well, I'm sorry you had that sort of welcome. Now, those of us who've looked at your personal biography online will be acquainted with your journey from a stone thrower to being an agent of Shin Bet, if I may put it like that, to the person you are today. And perhaps you could guide the audience through that journey and what took you from point A to the point you're at now in this room.
This is a very long journey, and I don't know if they have the patience to go through all the ups and downs and pain and sorrow. Just a human journey, you know. My birth to a Hamas family just, I think, coincidental. You know, it's not a choice. It could be a choice, but I am not aware of it. But to be here tonight, this is a choice. I made a choice to be here tonight. I made a choice to be friends with Israel, or at least not to consider Israel as an enemy. Because when I say Israel, you know, am I talking about individual? There are all type of people in Israel. There are people you will like, there are people you will not like. You know, for example, you're not going to like the taxi drivers in Tel Aviv, for example. But also you're not going to like the taxi drivers in Italy or anywhere else. So there are the criminals, there are the good people, there are fathers, mothers, just people. So it's very hard to, will somebody fix this thing? Just like too much equipment, you know, for such a small room. And I was saying, why don't we just go down to the bar? See the enthusiasm? We are in Ireland.
When I met him when he arrived, I walked up to shake his hand and he said to me, "Have you been drinking?"
I just want to make sure.
Sorry, continue.
So practically, you know, we make choices in life, you know, and my choice or choices are not emotional. I am trying to say something, express something, and that something could appear emotional, but it's dealing with a fundamental problem. As Arabians, Palestinians, we blame everything on Israel. We just need someone to blame because we don't want to take responsibility. And this is a very bad quality. So when I choose to come here or go anywhere in the world and say, I love Israel, I'm trying to break the barrier, you know. And I have been labeled a traitor, you know, and all type of bad names by Arabs, Muslims and Palestinians. But I think this is okay, because I choose and I take responsibility for the choices I make. And it has been a privilege. You know, I don't see Israel as a problem in the Middle East. I see in Israel a great democratic model that actually Arab countries can learn from. I think Israel and Israelis can help Arabians use their resources as they have been helping. And now I'm not talking about Israel as just political regime, I'm talking about Israel as a nation, which, you know, has contributed amazing things to the world. But Arabians are in denial. And I think this is a time where they need to stop blaming the state of Israel and take responsibility for the choices they make.
Yeah, I want to get back to the point that how you made that journey from blaming Israel to seeing that Israel is in fact the only modern secular democratic state in the Middle East. So I know it's a very long journey, and I've listened to you on the net, forgive me. So I know it's a very long journey, we don't have the time for it all. But you had a moment of illumination, of realization that somehow the Israeli people were not the evil creatures that you had been led to believe.
I took the fast train. This is what happened. I know you want specific answers, but there is no like one turning point, and it was not like a moment where I all of a sudden became enlightened. Just simple logic. You know, when you look at Israel, you see human rights, religious freedom, women are free. I mean, free. if they choose to. Animal rights, human rights, good infrastructure, democratic process. There are all religions. Arabic is the official language in the state of Israel. Arabs are allowed to vote. They have benefits for all citizens, but they don't serve in the army like everyone else. So they get a bonus. And I look at the other side, and what I see, chaos. Women are abused, children are abused, pedophiles are all over the place. Politicians are criminals and corrupted. Religious authorities keep people in darkness. And there is a conspiracy from the politician and the mullahs. I'm not sure that we need those speakers. Truly. It's like,
Maybe
but I think they want it for stream.
The live stream. Do you need the microphone for the stream?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, we grew up and we didn't know the source of our suffering, the origins of our suffering. And I asked myself again and again, why are we suffering? Why people are dying? And I needed to find answers. And I'm still looking for answers. The more I travel on this path, on this journey, the more I learn about this conflict. And it's not only a Palestinian-Israeli conflict. There is a human condition, there is politics, religion, dogma, and also other international bodies being part of this conflict. I heard about some conflict between Protestant and Catholics here, in some town in Ireland, where part of the town is Catholic and the other part of the town is Protestant, and Catholics have Palestinian flags on their streets, and Protestants have Israeli flags on their streets. Basically they are just projecting their inner conflict on some other region. And this is how the Palestinian-Israeli conflict continues. So we don't want to be part of it here. It's a very complicated thing. And I'm not here to actually, I'm not pro-Israel, I'm not anti-Palestinian. But because I have traveled back and forth between Israel and Palestine, I prefer the Israeli model. It's closer to the flow nature of existence, or the natural flow of existence. People have the right to demonstrate their freedoms, to express themselves, and we don't have that right on the other side. If I choose between living in Israel or living in an Arabian system, I choose to live in Israel. And by the way, if you ask the majority of Palestinians, where do you prefer, to be in Israel or in Palestine? All of them would choose to be in Israel. The majority of them. I was shocked when Hamas leaders, were trying to get Israeli IDs and Israeli citizenship to be in Israel. Because they see that living in Israel, there are freedoms that they're not available in the Arab model.
Is it fear that prevents so many Palestinians from actually stating the fact that Israel is a better state to live in than anything being offered in Jordan or the Palestinian territories or Egypt or any of the Arab countries? Is it fear prevents people saying this truth?
Fear is one of them. People don't want to be labeled as pro-Israel. But they can live in denial, for eternity. It's not going to change the truth. Israel was able to develop itself in about like 25 years and become a completely developed country. And now it's a force in technology in almost every field. It was nothing before. It came from nothing. So this gives us an example that there are people who are, have a great desire to live, to develop, to improve, to innovate, to create. And this is the very foundation of existence. And this is what I prefer, this is what I like. And I don't know why people are afraid to say that. You know, the Arabians, they have natural resources, human resources, they have everything and they're still behind. Why? You know, because it's the mindset, because of the fear, because everybody's paralyzed and afraid to express themselves. You know, because I expressed myself based on a first-hand experience with Israel, I was shunned by my family. And this is what everybody's afraid of, to be labeled, to be shunned.
Do you speak to any members of your family by telephone, email?
No connections to my, you mean biological family?
Yes.
No connection.
And is that a bit painful for you?
If you tell me what pain is, I might be able to answer your question.
That's a very good reply. Pain is something that doesn't go away. Pain is something that gnaws into your soul. Pain is something that you regret. Pain is something that you wish wasn't happening. Do you have any of those phenomena associated with not being able to speak to your family?
You're telling me pain is something, but you're not telling me what pain is. Pain is just a feeling, and I think we can rise above pain. Actually, there's a state where we can find pleasure in pain if we know how to master our feelings. And I try not to identify with it. It almost destroyed me. It was not easy, to just go through the fire. And this is where the real story, where the real journey. You can ask me about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, and it's a rabbit hole we will never finish. But if you ask me about my personal journey, the inner journey, this is something I like to talk about. I think this is the real deal. It's not politics, it's not religion, it's not what others think about us. It's not who's right and who's wrong. But I know that you want answers, and I'm not sure that I can answer all of them. Suffering is, the human nature is based on suffering. And there is a way out of it, if we choose to. But to surrender to pain, this means death.
Well, you raised the question of death. That might be a metaphorical form of death, but you face literal death, do you not? For your beliefs and for your proclamations in support of Israel. I mean, if in the wrong hands you would be killed, is that not true?
Now I don't feel this way. Now we're in a safe place. Unless some Irish extremists, want to do the job of...
Get me first.
There is a difference between, if I am in Gaza right now, that's a possibility. But I'm not in Gaza, I'm not in Ramallah. So there is no need to be concerned about that. I live in a free world, and I don't see or feel guilty about anything that I did. I don't regret my choices. What we did was saving human lives, Palestinian lives and Israeli lives. When a suicide bomber decided to go into school or synagogue or a bus station, blow themselves up. They did not care if they were Palestinians or Israelis, you know. They did not ask people, show your identities, you know. Who's Palestinian, evacuate. You know, they just blow themselves up, killed everybody. Arabs, Muslims, Americans, Palestinians were killed in this type of attacks.
Can you remember the first occasion when you gave information to Shin Bet that might have saved people's lives?
Not once, more than one event. I had direct information about a suicide bomber heading to kill innocent people. And I was able to locate them. And with the help of the Shin Bet and the IDF, we stopped them. And in other operations, I was able to find out who is the mastermind behind those suicide bombers. Find them, find their locations, you know, and it didn't matter what it took to get to them and put them behind the bars. You know, they were Palestinians, they were friends of my father, but I did not care. And I'm very happy that someone like Ibrahim Hamid, a mastermind that is responsible for the killing of more than 80 human beings, is sitting behind bars today in Israeli prisons for life. And I hope that he will never be released. That was a privilege. That was, of course, now I have the ability, and usually I don't like actually to talk about operation, what I did. It's irrelevant to anybody, and I don't like to brag about it, you know. But sometimes it's important to say that how could this be wrong? Why should I feel guilty about it? You know, and why my mother is so disappointed? You know, why my father is so disappointed? You know, because we reached to someone who's making bombs and giving it to self-deluded individuals to go and blow themselves up and kill people. Innocent people going to their works, going to their schools. I don't know why I should feel guilty about this. And in the meantime, I don't want to feel proud about it. Like I'm between two fires. If I brag about it, people says like, look at this guy, you know. But we did whatever was possible. You know, what you see basically in James Bond movies is nothing to what can be compared to what we did in the reality, in the real world, on daily basis. Things that I avoided to talk about in my book, and I don't feel comfortable talking about it. But it is what it is, you know.
One thing missing in James Bond movies, and I presume not missing in your life, particularly when you were operating as a Shin Bet agent, is fear. If you get it wrong, you die. That's true, isn't it?
You know, when you are in the situation, you should not think about things like this. You know, you cannot be afraid. If you're afraid, you will be exposed. You have to be natural. You have to believe in what you're doing. You know, you have to have a certain motive. You know, when I hang out in a room full of explosives, for example, I was not required by the Israeli intelligence to go into that room. But the only possibility for us to actually know what they are doing was to put a device inside the room. And the device was a piece of furniture, for example, at that time. So I volunteered to take it inside the room. We didn't know what was going on in the room. And that was the point. So once I got inside the room, there was like pails of explosives, okay? Kitchen-made explosives. And 4 individuals, the oldest was 20 years old. They learned how to make explosives from somebody, and here we are, and they've got like all the material that they basically got from pharmacies and stuff. And wires everywhere. Well, anything can go wrong in a situation like this. Nobody can save you from a situation like this, but I had to be there, I had to put the table, I had to place it in so we know what's their plan, who they're communicating with, and the rest of their network. You know, I cannot ask them those questions directly, they will not tell me the truth. How did they get to that place? So here I am, you know, it's like, what I'm going to do? Well, death is a possibility. But somehow you need to overcome your fear that you might die in a situation like this. And just stay cool, stay natural. And here I am. You know, I'm healthy, I'm well, I'm not dead.
I'm looking very well.
Unless I died, you know, and I still don't think that I'm dead.
Not yet. What pretext did you use to get into this room? What did they think you were doing here with this piece of item that it was that you brought into the room? What did they think you were doing there?
Well, I brought the device and I brought lots of candy to distract them. It was a promise, you know, that I'm there to help them. They needed help, they needed money, they needed a safe house, they were in desperate need for guidance, and I was the guide. You know.
And did they, at that time or thereafter, realise it was you that was responsible for the destruction of their terrorist cell?
We had a very good cover. First of all, they didn't know what hit them when the agency was listening to what they were talking about. Like, for example, they were discussing who's going to blow himself up first, and who's going to be second, and who's going to be third. And they were actually negotiating, you know. And some of them wanted to be the first to blow themselves up. So now the agency freaked out, and they decided immediately that they're going to drop a bomb on that house. I refused, and I thought arresting them would be a better option. But they were afraid, the agency were afraid that those guys are going to mention my name during interrogation. And if they mention my name, I'll have to go in prison for a long time. Otherwise, we cannot explain to Hamas how come I was affiliated with suicide bombers and I didn't spend time in prison. So killing them was the best option, and I did not want to be part of killing. So we arrested them, and we created a scenario where we made everybody believe that one of them actually was a spy. So what we did, the moment they were arrested, usually a potential suicide bomber, somebody with a possession of a bomb that had a plan to go and target a 15,000 rally in Jerusalem. That was their plan. And they were arrested 5 hours before actually they carried their attack. This is like a 15 to 25 years in Israeli prison. It's not a joke. But what the agency did, after 2 days of their arrest, they deported one of them back to Jordan. He was a Jordanian citizen. And everybody in his cell started thinking that he's the collaborator who gave information. There is no way in the world that Israel will let go of somebody with such a charge, you know. So now everybody believed that he was the collaborator, and nobody thought about me. And actually, within 48 hours, the Israeli forces bombed my house after evacuating my family, and they brought forces, special forces, aircrafts, launched a missile in the house. It made a big show in our town. It's like much bigger than Hollywood production, I promise you. To convince the Palestinian society that we're after this guy. So everybody believed that I was wanted, and Israeli wanted to get to me, and the only person who gave information about the sale is the guy who's enjoying his time with his family in Jordan right now.
Did anyone try to get that man in Jordan? Any Hamas people, any terrorist group tried to eliminate him for what they believed?
I didn't follow up, but there is a big chance that this guy's life is over. I'm sorry to say.
But it wasn't. It would have been over literally, and the lives of many others would have been over literally, had you not destroyed that terrorist cell. I mean, how many more people would have died if you hadn't done what you'd done? These are hypothetical questions, but the answers are reasonably certain. A lot of people would have died. And that man's family, he survived. We say he wouldn't have done otherwise.
Well, he survived physically, but there was like political assassination, He was done. Actually, if he was sent to prison, he would have been much better position.
And were there other operations on those lines that you would like to tell us about now? I know you don't want to brag. You haven't been bragging. We have answered questions, but you have lived a life which is incomprehensible to most of us. And I just need to get a sense of how you continued. You've done it once. You continued to do it, though. That's the remarkable thing.
No, I'm done. I'm over a long time ago. It's spying job. I chose a different career.
How long were you operating as an agent for?
About like practically 10 years. The most important part I did there, actually, things that I did not talk about in my book, or possibly just rarely I talk about, is not bringing information. It's the fact that Israel, or the Israeli intelligence agency, had lots of information, but they didn't know how to use it. When you are part of that culture and you understand the mentality, you are able to piece the puzzle much faster. Some experts in the agency, they had to make a decision, and they invite me for a meeting last minute, and they've got 1,000 pages, and they have to make a decision. And they cannot make a decision in 1 hour. It's a very difficult decision. And all they have to do is just ask me one question, and I have the whole picture, or at least the majority of the picture. So I was able to help make decisions. Sometimes they find it very useful to give me the information. So I wasn't actually the one who was giving Israel information. Israel was giving me information, and I was putting that information to use. Like, for example, I go to one of the charity offices affiliated with Hamas. I see a 50-year-old man, a teacher, and a 20-year-old student. The teacher is a teacher at a high school, student from the university, 20 years old. Now, both of them from two different villages. What brings this person and this person together? And they're like kind of whispering. They've been below the radar. Both of them have a Hamas background, but not everybody in Hamas has been activated, to carry an operation. So that was, I had a question mark about this relationship. So I call my friends and I say, there is something wrong there. Would you please just check on them, see what they are doing? Well, the agency did not took that actually as an immediate threat. So they go and they arrest both of them. The teacher was solid. He was very strong. He did not open his mouth during the investigation. But the student thought that they were exposed. So within 2-3 days, he started talking. And they were behind a cell that was responsible for the death of at least 35 people. And they had the potential of doing much more damage because they were flying way, way below the radar. They were not even, their names at that time were not on the wanted list. So that was somehow coincidental. I just saw a wrong picture that it did not look right to me. And it's like a dream. But somehow, whatever guided me, to feel that way or to see it that way, led us to a very dangerous terrorist cell. This terrorist cell, was coming from a village called Bet. It's near the Israeli border, and there was no wall at that time. They put a bomb under the train connecting Tel Aviv, the railway. Their plan was actually to send a truck full of tons of explosives to blow up a gas manufacturing station in Haifa, I think, something like that, like energy plant. One of their plans was to bring the highest tower in Tel Aviv. So we're talking about a very serious terrorist organization. And was it because I was smart? I was not even looking for those guys. And I just saw something and I felt that was not right. Other occasions, I would be taking my brother to school in the morning, and on my way back I see the most wanted person in town entering a house. And the agency had been looking for this guy for 7 years. And I just call and says like, hey, I think I found your guy. How did you find him? I was just driving back home, and he was entering a certain house. It was very hard actually for the agency to believe that this is all coincidental. At some point the agency went to investigate, not my integrity, but it's just like, are you possessed with powers that we don't know about? Or are you actually connected to the terrorist group and you playing a game with us? So things were happening on a daily basis, and somehow I was not empowered by the Israeli intelligence or by anyone else except, my moral compass. People were dying on a daily basis, and then when you find yourself alone in the field and you realize your responsibility, and of course I could put my head in the sand and I pretend I don't know and just tell the Israelis, go do whatever you want to do, this is too risky, this is too dangerous for me. And there was no temptation, and there was no intimidation that could keep me in that game, except sense of responsibility. And at the end of the day, you do all this, and there is not even thank you. The thank you actually would be, it's time for you to go to prison. After we, like few months working in the field, I was involved. Yasser Arafat, I connected him and I brought solid evidence that he was part of the planning for the Second Palestinian Intifada and funding Al-Aqsa mortar brigades. Actually, I was the first agent to connect Yasser Arafat bodyguards as the founders of the Al-Aqsa mortar brigades, which is the Fatah military wing. And this information was used against Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian Authority in the United Nations. The Israeli Prime Minister had no idea who brought the information. So that was one of the files. Other file was the Hamas military wing. You know, how to get to the structure of the Hamas military wing. We don't have access to that, and that was very complicated. We had also the Public Front for Liberating Palestine. That's another terrorist group. So I was involved in so many operations that the agency at some point, after 6 months, they could not keep me in the field. They had to take me and put me in prison. That was the check with so many zeros on it, you know, that I have to finish school. You know, I have finals, I have life, you know, I work for a good company. At that time I was working for the USAID and they were paying me good money. But you have to leave all this and go to prison. That was the reward, you know. And I spent about 27 months in Israeli prisons in total, just for cover, most of it, for doing the right thing. So why did I have to do all that? You know, it has to be like a different.
Sorry, I know we're running a little bit tight on time here, and I want to give people in the audience an opportunity to ask any questions. So if you have a particular question that you'd like to ask Mosab, could you maybe let me know and I can pass the mic to you. Would you mind passing the mic? Just so that we can pick up the sound. Thank you.
Hi.
It's not working?
No.
Well, oh, that's better. So I just wanted to ask about the moral compass, because I think this could be a method, because you have been enlightened. You see, you know, the difference between the system which is depriving people of human rights, abusing women, and the system which works. And then you see that actually, well, why don't we create something better? Why don't we work for peace? Now, I would imagine that you as an educated person would be a great model for lots of other people to, you know, just... I was in Egypt 4 years ago, okay? I put a hijab on and I was talking to people. I've heard some basic Arabic and I spoke to people. And lots of people were really not happy, women and men, about the way things are. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe you can teach people, you know, there's more people like you. It makes sense. The question is there a way you could train people to be similar like you?
You know, I honestly don't want people to be like me. I don't want them to follow like my pattern, you know.
What is a good pattern?
Because this is not the goal. What I would like to see is to see free people who know let's say, their individuality, you know, not personas given to them by the society, you know. And if they have this level of freedom, then Israel is not going to be a problem. How can they see in Israel a problem if they were free people?
Okay, we have another question here. Just a second.
It's like basically, what can I do more than demonstrating, you know, my life, you know. I wrote a book about it. There's a movie about it. So, but at the end of the day, if they cannot see it, you know, I cannot make them see it. Right now, there are people in the room here. They look, but they don't see. You know, there are people online, they can hear, but they don't listen a word I'm saying. I'm not visible to everybody, and I cannot make myself visible to everybody. Actually, you know, I find it very hard to convey my truth, you know. Truth is experiential, you know. Like right now, I feel ridiculous, really, like, you know, I'm trying to talk about, like, you know, events of the past and things like, it's just nonsense, you know, and it's irrelevant. I'm trying to use some stories, actual stories that happened in my life. if I can recall those memories, because I don't think about them on a daily basis. As you said, things like source of pride. I don't want to be proud. I don't want to be guilty. I just want to move on. It's not that I don't care about the Palestinians or the Israelis and the region, but I'm afraid that this is reality, and we are not able to change it. We can change individuals. I might be able to change individual one-on-one, and help them advance. They will also help me advance in return. But I'm not sure about changing a whole nation, just by a speech, which I was that eloquent,
Okay, thank you. I have another question.
Mosab, this question is as a result of reading your book a number of years ago. How much a role does your faith play in the path you now lead?
Somehow, if we are on a journey towards truth, we will develop like a moral compass. This moral compass is developed somehow, and we will find people to inspire us. But this is not enough. Because even if you know, let's say, a high moral, like for example, love thy enemy, is safe, Christians talk about it all the time, but to put it to practice is completely something else. To preach about it is easy, but to truly love your enemy, this is not an easy one. To risk your life for your enemy, to risk your life for someone who does not know you and will not appreciate you, and in the meantime you're not expecting anything in return. It's not an easy thing. Many times in our operation, as I was responsible to make sure that the soldiers who come in will be safe. And on the way out of the territory, the same exact soldiers would stop me, not knowing who I was or what I was doing in there, and they would humiliate me and sometimes beat me. I could not tell them nothing. And the Israeli intelligence could not tell their army, hey, this is one of us, leave him alone, why did you beat him? And we had to swallow it. So in that situation, this is where you demonstrate, the higher interest of humanity. Jesus Christ played a role in it, but I cannot give credits to Christianity because of Jesus' teachings, for example, because Christianity is just a dogma, it's another belief system. Christ is a matter of interest to me. Christ is a manifestation of life, of freedom, of love, and he gets the credits, and that state of consciousness gets the credit, not a religion based on it. And down the road, I'm also inspired by the Buddha, I'm inspired by Lao Tzu, I'm inspired by Krishna, I'm inspired also by Muhammad. Muhammad, by the way, even though I criticize Islam and the Islamic dogma, but Muhammad stood against and went against the flow of his society. He was a comfortable man, a successful man in his society, and he was against the conceptions of that society, the idealism and the conceptions of the divine. So practically, each one of those avatars, Maha avatars, they project consciousness in a way or another. So all these amazing individuals shaped me in a certain way, but at the end of the day, I have to let go of them as well, and I have to develop my own intelligence, as they were able to develop intelligence and got to a place to see truth and experience truth, which was beyond culture, beyond human mind, and were able to transcend man to transcend mind and come to a place where they realize divine intelligence and the oneness and the unity of the universe. Each one of us in this room has that potential. And now, it is not individual that inspire me as much as knowing my potential beyond this very speech that I'm communicating with you.
Okay, thank you. We have time for one more very quick question. Please, okay.
I wonder, just, I don't know how much you know about our Irish situation, but largely there's a big movement to support Palestinians in achieving a state, and it's distressing for many of us who see beyond the simplistic outlook of likening the situation there to our Irish history. I just wonder if you've anything to say to our Irish people who are wanting to advance boycott and divestment and sanctions on Israel. Anything, advice to us who go against that and take a stand?
It's very hard, in a democratic system to tell people not to express themselves. But also I see fools expressing themselves, idiots. Go to the Arab world, go to Saudi Arabia, go to Iran, go to Syria, go to Lebanon, Bahrain, Arab Emirates, wherever you go, and see how women are treated, how children are treated, how children are abused, how women are abused and raped, treated like property. They're not humans. See the collective consciousness of the Arab world, if can be trusted to actually guide. And those who choose, to go against Israel just because they have misunderstanding, I ask them to wake up. First of all, Israel is not a political regime that happened to be in the Middle Eastern region. It's a nation. It's a very small nation with great contribution towards humanity. In science, in literature, in medicine, ethics, values. A nation that suffered very much and taught all of us a very good example of forgiveness. A nation that did not choose to take revenge. Instead of choosing destruction, chose to create and to build, and was able to build an amazing country, and not at the expense of Palestinians. My grandmother was living in what's known today as Israel, before Israel was established. The Arab regimes asked her, as they asked tens of thousands of other Palestinians or Arabs who lived in that territory, to evacuate so they can come in and kill all the Jews, cleanse the land of the Jews. Then after that, my grandmother and her friends, tens of thousands of refugees, can go back to their land. But the Arab armies, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and many other volunteers who all gathered to come destroy and kill Jews just because they are Jewish. Were defeated. And my grandmother was not able to go back to her land. So this is what happens, it's like when you come with attitude that you hate, hatred from, I will conclude that in a couple of minutes, but this is very important. So Israel is not the problem, Israel does not want to cause harm to Palestinians. Israel has the capacity to nuke every Arabian capital and demolish, the entire Arabian systems in a matter of seconds if they want. And they don't do that. They have sense of responsibility. And they don't abuse power. 99% of the wars that happened between Israel and Arabians were initiated by Arabians. One war that was initiated by Israel, and it was for defense, and it was limited. Not for pleasure, to just kill Arabians. So, what if Arabians had actually the power that Israel has today? What would they do? They don't have power and they're causing all this trouble. Imagine if they have the power. They don't have power and they're abusing the limited power that they're given to them by existence. So, with that said, we have to be very careful what we choose. Palestinians knew how to play the game, being a victim. And I say, yes, they are a victim, but they're a victim of their own. They're not victims because of Israel. And I don't see Israel as a problem in the Middle East. I see Israel as a solution. And anybody who believes in freedom, they should actually support Israel, because Israel is the real climate for free people in the Middle East. They're Muslims, they're Christians, they're yogis. Women can do whatever they want to do. And this is the climate that I think where individual is able to express themselves.
Thank you so much for that, Mosab. What a great note to end on. So I hope people are watching out there are really listening to that really positive message about Israel, that Israel is not the aggressor. Israel is the only region in the Middle East that is democratic, and they want peace. So please share this video. And Mosab, just thank you so much for coming to share. And I would also like to thank Kevin Mars as well for interviewing Mosab. And I would also like to thank Avery Citron and Rory Cowan for the use of their equipment here. They've very kindly loaned us their production equipment here tonight. So thank you very much to Avery and Rory.
Do you have another question, Kevin? Any more? Anything come to mind after that?
Sure, yes.
Is this like after party?
Actually, there's going to be tea and coffee after this, okay? So, at the back. So, but yes, by all means, Kevin, if you have one more very quick concluding question and one more very quick concluding answer as well.
Is there anything you really regret about that time when you were working as an agent?
Oh, brother, I have no regrets. Just have to accept. I have created my own reality. I made choices. Some of them were hard choices, and I don't regret them. Every choice was the perfect choice, and I take responsibility for my choices. That's the difference. Even if the majority of people think that it was the wrong choice, I take responsibility for it. What's more than they wanted to disown me? To shun me, no social security, no cushion, no family, no support of any kind. You are on your own, your blood is halal. Anybody can kill you now. Take all type of protection and comfort, and let me into the unknown. That's the most they could do. So this is something that that was the price I paid. And guess what? I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying being in the unknown. I'm enjoying being free, not concerned of the opinion of public or what my people think of me. I don't have to leave any impression on anybody. I speak freely, I live freely, I feel healthier, I feel much stronger. So why do I need to regret?
And the world is a better place because of you.
Yes.